Howdy, welcome to BanjoBenClark.com. Bum-ba-da-dum. I'm Banjo Ben. I'm your host here on the website to teach you how to play banjo guitar. This week is mandolin. Now, why did I play that little lick at the front? Well, simply to demonstrate the skills that we're going to be working on today, namely what's called alternate picking. You may have heard that term. If you don't know what it is, I'm going to explain it to you, and then I'm going to give you some exercises to help ingrain in your brain membranes what it means to play with alternate picking, which I do think is the best way to build speed, to build accuracy, and to help with the overall smoothness of your playing. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, here in a moment, I'll ask you to come over to the website, BanjoBenClark.com. You can join as a Gold Pick member. You can see this 20-plus minute video, and then I've got the tabs for the exercises, and I also have 3 different speeds of MP3 tracks where I play the exercise at different speeds, and you can follow along on your computer, okay? I'd be honored to have you on board. Let's look at alternate picking, what it is, and then how to ingrain it in our brain membrane. Today, I'm going to give you a pick stroke exercise that's going to work on solidifying your alternate picking. What do I mean by alternate picking? I just simply mean playing down strokes on your down beats and up strokes on your up beats. So if you had a measure full of eighth notes, that wouldn't be hard, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But where it gets complicated, where I see people start to mess up with their pattern of down, up, down, up, down, up, is when we start switching strings. Okay, and also whenever our playing requires us to skip a pick stroke, and that often happens whenever we have hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides and things of that nature. So a lot of times people don't know when to come back in or how to come back in, and they'll often come in with the wrong pick stroke, and then they'll be flip-flopped on their pattern. And I think it's important, especially as you're starting out, to learn good alternate picking. Okay, so what we're going to do, I've built an exercise out of the G major and A major 2-octave scales. I'm not going to spend time talking about the scales themselves because I've already done big studies on those on the website that you'll want to watch beforehand. But we're going to play these 2-octave scales and introduce hammer-ons and pull-offs at different times that requires our brain to think about what our pick strokes should be doing. So let's pull up the first line of tab there. Measures 1 through 4, we're simply going to go up the 2-octave G major scale and back down. Of course, if we didn't have any hammer-ons or pull-offs there, it would sound like this. Okay. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to introduce a hammer-on going up, and we're going to introduce a pull-off coming back down, and we're going to pull off the notes, the same notes that we hammered on going up. You'll notice that beneath each one of the notes, I have those little black arrows. That's our pick directions. Those are so important for this particular exercise because that's going to tell you if you're staying on pattern or not. So we're going to start off on our low G string, and the first thing we're going to do is hammer on. Now, if we weren't hammering on, that second fret there in the scale would be played with an upstroke, right? But we're hammering on, so that hammer-on is going to take the place of that upstroke, so that whenever we come back in on the next note of the scale, that 4th fret, we come back with a downstroke, not with an upstroke. So it looks like this. So important. Now, of course, that same pattern we're going to use on the D string, on the 3rd string, hammer on the same fret. So it's so important not to come back in with an upstroke, but to come back in with a downstroke because it's on a downbeat. It's the first part of measure 2, and then we'll finish the scale up, the second half of measure 2. Now, as we come back down, starting in measure 3, we're simply going to pull off the same notes that we hammered on as we came up. Okay, so, but what makes it tricky is this time those pull-offs are going to happen with an upstroke and cause us to miss our downstroke. So now we'll want to come back in with another upstroke, okay, because it's on the up beat. So what that looks like in measure 3, we're going to start with a downstroke on the 3rd fret, then play the 2nd fret with an upstroke, pull off. I pull off going down when I play my 1st string most of the time. And now we're going to have to come back in with an upstroke on the 5th fret of the A string, come back down. Now we have another pull off with an upstroke, and I'll typically pull off going up on these other strings, or some people call it a push off. You can do it whichever way you want, but that's typically what I do. So that's an upstroke. That pull off requires us to miss our downstroke so that the last note in measure 3 is an upstroke. So just let me play slowly measure 3 again so you can catch that. Down, up, miss, up, down, up, miss, up. Then we're going to continue that idea through measure 4. Down, up, miss, up, down, up, miss. Okay, and so what we want to work on is not only our pick strokes, but also getting clean pull-offs and hammer-ons as we do that. So let me slowly play measures 1 through 4, and then keep in mind that I have 3 different speeds of this whole exercise. There's 24 total measures as downloadable MP3 tracks if you're a Gold Pick member. Good. Now, once you get that down, we're going to introduce another level of complexity here. As we move into measure 5, you're going to see that now the hammer-ons are going to move up a note in the scale. We're still playing all the same notes. Okay, all the same notes are being played in measures 5 through 8 that they were in 1 through 4. Now we're just scooting the hammer-ons and the pull-offs ahead.